U.S. administration seeks Ukraine war end by April 20th.
Real legal breakthrough needed for sci-tech development.
Helping new soldiers integrate into the common home.
You're watching today's news on NTV channel. My name is Zhang, your host. Bloomberg reported citing informed sources saying that the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump aims to reach a ceasefire agreement in Ukraine by Eastern, which falls on April 20th.
Thank you very much. Very briefly,
some European officials are concerned that Trump's plan for a quick resolution to end Russia's war against Ukraine is ambitious and potentially unrealistic. The negotiations are expected to begin with a meeting between Russian and U.S. delegations in the next few days. The Ukraine talks, including delegations from both countries, will take place in the Saudi Arabian capital Riyadh on February 18. Washington will play a mediating role in the peace talks, in which Kiev and Moscow are the two main participants. Europe will hardly be present at the peace negotiating table on Ukraine. However, European leaders have said they will not accept this decision.
Meanwhile, Kiev's military said on Sunday that Russian troops have sharply stepped up their attacks in eastern Ukraine as a NATO official predicted Moscow would increase the pace and intensify its assaults with talks to end the war approaching.
The Ukrainian military said that the main attacks were concentrated near the imperiled logistics hub of Pokrovsk, with U.S. and Russian officials expected to hold talks in the coming days in Saudi Arabia and U.S. President Donald Trump pushing for peace. Kyiv's military reported 261 combat engagements with Russia over a 24-hour period on Saturday, easily the largest number recorded this year and more than double the roughly 100 per day it reported in previous days. Russian forces have seized a swath of territory to the south of Pokrovsk and are now pushing upwards to its southwest, threatening a main supply route into the outpost, the capture of which could open up more lines of attack for Russia.
Continuing ninth extraordinary session on February the 17th, the National Assembly discussed the draft resolution of the National Assembly piloting a number of policies to remove obstacles in science, technology, innovation, and national digital transformation activities. The draft resolution of the National Assembly on a number of specific mechanisms and policies for investment in the construction of the nuclear power plant.
Through discussion, National Assembly deputies agreed with the necessity of issuing the above draft resolutions. The deputies also proposed to review and include in the resolution many policies under the National Assembly's decision-making authority, removing difficulties for science and technology, innovation and national digital transformation activities such as regulations on financial spending mechanisms from the state budget in the fields of science and technology, digital transformation, commercialization of scientific research products, policies on the relationship between scientists, schools and businesses, attracting and developing high-quality human resources for the development of science and technology, as well as mechanisms for exemption from civil liability, tax incentives in research, application and testing of science and technology, forming a technology market.
Coming up next are some of the news.
According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, of the total export turnover in January 2025 of $33.09 billion United States dollars, the U.S. market alone accounted for about $10 billion United States dollars. With this turnover, the U.S. continued to be Vietnam's largest export market in the first month of the year. In terms of export commodity structure, exports decreased in all three groups: agricultural, forestry and fishery products decreased by 8.7%, the processing industry group decreased by 3.4%, and fuel and minerals decreased the most, up to 35.5% compared to the same period last year. Followed by U.S. as the Chinese market. However, while exports to the U.S. decreased, Exports to China grew strongly.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade plans to increase electricity imports from China and Laos by 3,000 megawatts and 2,500 megawatts respectively by 2030. 1.5 to 5 times higher than the current plan. According to the draft of the revised Power Plan 8, the Ministry of Industry and Trade calculates that Vietnam's power system needs to reach 210,000 megawatts by 2030 and 840,000 megawatts by 2050. 35% and 50% higher than the approved Power Plan 8. In addition to domestic power sources, imported electricity is considered an important solution to meet energy demand in the context of high growth. Specifically, the Ministry of Industry and Trade proposes to import 3,700 megawatts from China by 2030. At the same time, the amount of electricity imported from Laos is expected to reach 6,800 megawatts in the high-growth scenario.
The 33rd edition of the Havana International Book Fair, running from February 13 to 23, is witnessing the attendance of over 40 countries from all corners of the world, including Vietnam, drawing 400 international guests. The fair offers book lovers more than 2.4 million printed books and 1,200 new literary works in digital format. Books on culture and history of Vietnam, and beloved President Ho Chi Minh, along with images of Vietnam's natural beauty, have drawn the attention of many Cuban and international readers at this year's fair, which is held annually at the La Cabaña Fortress in Havana. The Havana International Book Fair has become a key cultural event and a source of intellectual enrichment for book lovers worldwide, playing a key role in enhancing mutual understanding and friendship among nations.
Right after the 2025 military handover ceremony, Regiment 764, Nghệ An Provincial Military Command received more than 200 new soldiers into the training unit, with the affection and responsibility of an older brother and comrade. The staff at all levels of the regiment have helped the new soldiers quickly integrate and feel more confident in the military environment.
More than 200 new soldiers enlisted in 2025 to be trained in Regiment 764 come from 20 districts, towns and cities in Nghệ An province. When the new soldiers entered the unit, Regiment 764 quickly stabilized the organization and staff, provided full military uniforms and materials, arranged accommodation, living and studying places thoughtfully.
The most important thing the regiment cares about is the living conditions of new soldiers when they come here to ensure the best conditions for living and traveling. Especially the team of officers directly manage new soldiers to encourage them to trust the team of officers to carry out the task.
In order to help the new soldiers to quickly integrate into the military environment, the team of officers at all levels in Regiment 764 have considered the new soldiers as their relatives, guiding and helping them to get acquainted with the living regime in the army. At the same time, they actively encourage, grasp the ideology, family circumstances, especially help new soldiers with difficult family circumstances to feel secure, to determine the task well.
For the new soldiers who are not yet familiar with the environment in the Army, the squad leaders, platoon leaders and officers at all levels have enthusiastically guided them so that all the new soldiers feel comfortable to study and work at the unit.
Far from home and family, entering the Army environment, new soldiers are no longer bewildered, thanks to the thoughtful welcome of the older cadres at all levels and the soldiers. The first moments in the warm common house at Regiment 764, Nghệ An Provincial Military Command are the connecting thread so that the unit is always home. Comrades are all brothers of the new soldiers.
It's the end of today's news. Thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.